the beautiful thing about it is that Black people don't need to be separated from the rest of the country because a rising tide lifts all boats. And we seen that in 2016 through 2020. We had record low unemployment, record wage growth. We had no inflation. It was below what the average was for any other president before. We had no inflation. We had no new wars, and the economy was booming. Everybody was getting money. Everybody was successful. And everybody was thriving. And I think in hindsight, we don't even realize how bad I'm glad that he lost in 2020 because now we can have a comparison. We can say, okay, well, this is what Kamala Harris, because what you don't talk about is that they've had a 92% turnover rate of the people that actually worked for her. In 2021, the number one headline for her was that they were having problems and people were quitting because they didn't like working for her because she was a difficult person and that she wasn't conducive to be around. Everything that she's been tasked with, she's failed on. She's the president of the Senate, but at the same time, she's voted on more tie-breaking votes for legislation of any vice president in history, yet we have the worst economy and the worst inflation when it comes to job growth and wages keeping up with the rate of inflation. We have record at more than any other time in our lifetime, immigration into this country illegally from people that's not supposed to be here. And she's never substantiated why in 2021, 2022, and 2023 that they did not, but they did undo 94 different policy procedures that prevented them from coming into this country anyway. And so when I see people saying that they're voting against Trump, usually they're voting against their own best interests. And they don't even know it yet, but they're going to pay the price way down the line, similarly to how we voted for Obama. And we basically voting for a fourth term of Obama. And it's unfortunate because we hate so much the very person that was cool with everybody and they loved, the one that Oprah said that she was going to be the vice president for on her own couch. He was literally on one of her last shows and he was with her the whole time. The very one who he funded the majority of these Black people, some of them that's in office right now, some of the very Democrats that you guys support. He was the one that gave them their first campaign donation. He's the one that flew Nelson Mandela, which I just learned just a couple of weeks ago. He was the one that got Nelson Mandela out of a jam and flew him over here to the United States of America. It's funny because the very person that we hate is all based off of marketing and propaganda to make y'all believe something so that you vote against your own best interest. You can't even come up with something reasonable as to why you're voting for Kamala Harris. And no, she's not going to do nothing for Black people. She didn't even marry a Black man. She married a white man, which is cool. But how you going to use identity politics to shame Black people to voting for you when you don't even align with them yourself? We don't even know if she Black. And it's unfortunate because nobody needs a handout. All you need is a hand up, an opportunity for you to get it for yourself. But we've been prevented from doing so because you've been handcuffed.
I have a question.
They made y'all take this jab in order for you to even move around. They completely gave all of your benefits over to other countries. Ukraine can come over here and get $60 billion. Even the infrastructure deal that they said, even when it came to the bipartisan deal 3 years later, after they had already been in office, that they said in order to close off the border, it was tied to funding all of these proxy wars outside of the United States of America. And y'all still rolling with somebody that is preaching to y'all their number one message is reproductive rights so that you can have the right to be able to kill a baby, which you can control that by keeping your dick in your pants. That's amazing to me. We are so ignorant and so full of the Kool-Aid. And I'm gonna let you have it, Carrie. I really absolutely am disgusted with men because we'll get to that part. I'm disgusted with men because we don't even have the balls to stand up for ourselves. And we talking women talking points. When we gonna drop our ball sacks and say, you know what? No, I would never vote for a woman to lead me. I would never have a conversation based off of voting for a woman off of reproductive rights. What are you, Tim Walls? You want to put tampons in boys' bathrooms too while we at it? Maybe y'all support men playing in women.
There it is right there. Don't want a woman leading you.
I'm amazed that y'all
That's
and
a little
traditionally black people have always been conservative. We conservative in a way that we conservative in a way that we raise our children. We've been conservative in a way that we look at spirituality. We conservative in a way that we believe in the separation of church and state. We conservative when it comes to how it is that we spend our dollars. We are supposed to be conservative with the way that we raise our families. But maybe it's just so many single mothers that enrage so many feminine men that nowadays we align with more or less women talking points instead of standing on business and taking care of business. I'm just amazed and I'm just disgusted at our men, because whenever I ask a Kamala Harris supporter, what you voting on, they start talking about abortion. The fuck?
So I have a question.
No, I mentioned a couple of things, but you highlighted.
Yeah, you talked about a bunch of stuff that you couldn't even substantiate. First of all, you wrong, because the taxes and the cost of living is going to go up when it comes to it. That $25,000 is bullshit, because they doing that in order to give migrants the opportunity to buy a first-time home, and it's not even going to be paid for by the federal government. The price of homes jack up as a result of it. I even start talking to the builders, and they hoping that Kamala Harris get in office because they're going to make record profits by jacking up the price, and it doesn't. Listen, we don't have a housing shortage. We have 1.8 million houses on the market right now. I know because I built them. I'm a builder. I build houses now. I know we have an affordability crisis, not a shortage of homes.
I got a comment. I got a quick comment.
Let me ask Anton a question, because I feel like these past weeks it's about Kamala. Okay. And I'm really wanting to know this question. Granted, it's about Trump. What is Trump make? Because I don't know. What is Trump going to do for Black people?
We don't want Trump to do anything for Black people. But if you really want to know, no. I'll answer the question. But if you really want to know, first of all, one of the things that he did is opportunity zone.
No. I'm not talking about the past. Right now, what is he going to put stuff in place for the future? If
he's not going to do anything specifically for Black people. I answered the question.
Okay.
But what he's going to do is benefit all Americans, which ultimately affect Black people also.
Okay, so like what stuff? Like name some stuff. Someone has
outside of immigration. Please
no.
tell us what outside of immigration.
What the fuck is she talking for?
Trigger. Wait, he doesn't need a repeat of the question I'm asking. Okay, what stuff is Trump going to do?
What stuff is he gonna do?
That's going to help regular people, not millionaires like yourself. What is he going to put in place that's going to help us?
So, for example, several of the different things that I believe in is what Ava said about the audit on the federal government. And the reason that we need that is because they're trying to tax you guys to death, because you, the middle class, are the one that pay the majority of the taxes. And if we audit the federal government, you eliminate the waste while at the same time lowering the national debt, and you allow for businesses to be able to reinvest back into American jobs. The second thing that he's going to do is he's going to implement more tariffs, in which the Biden administration left in place that he implemented the first time. And what that does is it allows for and it incentivizes American businesses to reinvest back in here instead of reinvesting overseas in Mexico and China. And so it also follows with wage growth, and it follows with more corporate taxes coming to the United States of America, which also lowers your tax rate, similarly to how we lowered every single American's tax rate when he was in office. He's also proposing to have no tax on overtime, which also allows for you to put more money in your family's pocket and then generate more wealth, which then creates more job growth because you'll have more opportunity to invest in other things such as businesses. And it incentivizes consumer spending, which allows for the dollar to circulate more effectively. That's just economically. If we want to go over to immigration, we don't need more of our dollars going overseas. And so what he's proposing to do is allow for the immigration system to do its job by not allowing for illegal immigrants to come over here and allow them to go through the natural process. That way we eliminate gangs. We eliminate a strain on our infrastructure system, like what's happening in all of these small towns. Your schools is not overran. See, some of y'all don't have kids, so you're not affected as a result of that. You have less car accidents and you have less crime that's happening in your cities. And also, if you look at something like Chicago, if you look at New York, Chicago is projected in 2025 to have a $942 million budget deficit as a result of this migrant crisis. So now Chicago, for example, is laying off employees. They have less police officers. They have a 2,000 police officer shortage, which means that more crime is happening in blue cities all across America. Oakland is literally on the bridge of about to file for bankruptcy. If you look at what's happening in San Francisco, that's why everybody is moving from California to Texas. And so it's a trickle effect. When you look at these wars, we had no new wars under Trump. And so he's proposing it in the wars, which then has more tax dollars going to American citizens instead of going overseas. You won't have what's happening in Ukraine. You won't have what's happening in Israel. You won't have what's happening in Taiwan. More dollars is going to go to American citizens. So if you're asking me what he's going to do for Americans, he's going to do it for everybody. And that's the whole idea. We don't need Chinese manufacturers coming over here and dumping Chinese cars over here, which is ultimately going to kill the American car industry. You don't need Chinese people dumping steel over here, because I got friends that work in the steel industry at Local 600 and their jobs is on the line and they looking to sell their company. They looking to sell the company, which is one of the reasons you see, I think it's Nepal, Asian manufacturer is looking to buy one of these large steel manufacturers over here in the United States of America, shut it down and then import a lot of steel over here, which then eliminates American jobs. You don't need these type of things that's happening, and they're not proposing any real solutions. And we need infrastructure. We need investment back in America. We need more dollars coming in here, and we need less taxes, which then circulates the American dollar. One of the benefits of him lowering taxes, which means that our tax rolls actually increase as a country, is that he lowered the tax rate, which allowed for companies overseas to bring their money back into the United States of America, because they was able to do it at a lower tax rate instead of leaving all of the money outside of the country that they were generating outside of the country, even though they're an American company. Okay. He's proposing, for example, in the automotive sector, for manufacturers to make more parts in the United States of America, not just have assembly factories. So what happens is, if you go and buy a car and you look at what it is that it says on the actual purchase sheet, it'll say assembled here, but this percentage of the parts is made in Mexico. This percentage of the parts is made in China. This percentage of the parts is made in Indonesia. He wants more manufacturing inside of the United States of America. And that way it actually generates more jobs, which then incentivizes you to have more children instead of them replacing your children with immigrants to do the jobs that you don't want to do. And so it's a trickle down effect. It keeps the American dollar circulating, and also it allows for us to have diplomacy with other countries instead of being warmongers. That's the reason why she endorsed by Liz Cheney. That's the party of war. That's why we continue to have these wars in the first place. So if you're asking me what they're going to do, they're going to do it for all Americans. And again, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I'm not voting for me. I'm voting for the future generations of what's to come after me, for my daughter. I'm straight. I'm going to be straight for the rest of my life. But what I do see is a dark future if we continue to be under this Democratic stronghold. And I don't want my grandchildren to be in that future of what I've already seen happening over the last 3 years. You don't get a promotion to do the shit that you were supposed to do when you was in office. How you gonna give her a promotion to continue to fuck shit up? Come on, man.
I was crazy.
Wait,
Please respond. Can I get
Carrie? Wait, hold on. Trigger, it was Carrie and Honey. Go ahead, Carrie.
I was just gonna ask Ty, because you said that you were voting that way primarily because of the reproductive freedoms. I know you named other stuff, but you said, the women on the panel. I think you said like women in general. If you have a wife one day, I'm not sure if you said if you had like a daughter. Did you mention daughter too?
I don't have a daughter.
Okay. So my question is, if somebody would, let's say your wife came to you and was like, why, like, what did you vote for? Like, what did you vote for me for? How did you help me to have my freedoms, babe? Like, tell me what freedoms I now have as a result of you voting for Kamala. What would you tell her?
Repeat your question. I'm not understanding your question. My wife would come to me and ask why I voted for Kamala Harris? Yeah, because you said that you said one of the reasons why you're voting for her is for women. And you said like the women on the panel, women in general. You said like if I want to have a wife one day. So I'm just saying, let's say that wife, you find her, you marry her, she comes to you and she says, what did I get as a result of you voting for Kamala as it relates to my freedoms, my reproductive freedoms? Like, what freedoms do I now have? Well, I mentioned forgive me. I mentioned the reverse of Roe versus Wade. She may have family members that may have been victim of rape or incest or whatever. So that's what I basically was referring to. I didn't say that my wife would quote unquote have an abortion. I think that was maybe a misunderstanding. But it's how long? What year did they put Roe? What year was the law Roe versus Wade into effect? And now he comes to change it. Who was Trump to change that?
Well, wait, hold on, real quick.
Trump didn't change it. The Supreme Court did.
He's attempting to change it.
Well, no, he put
no. I don't think he knows. I don't even think he's aware of what happened and how the law changed. Do you know what happened?
June 2022.
Do you know what happened?
No. Go ahead. Explain it.
You just said that Trump changed it and he didn't.
I think that with all due respect, Ty, that's a part of the frustration that's on the table. It seems as though there are more people on the Dem side or Kamala side who are very strong in their stance, but when you ask them for more detail of their stance, they're not knowledgeable. And I'm saying that with respect because I have had to learn quite a bit throughout this election about things that I thought I knew and things that I just didn't. And what you're doing is you're kind of like perpetuating this cycle that many of us Black people find ourselves in. You're not knowledgeable of it. So I would just say before Tuesday, not to change your vote.
No, it's fine.
But before next Tuesday, as you said, before you pull the lever for her, just go read. Like just go delve into everything you said. Go to as impartial of a source as possible. Like I literally just sat here and started reading about Margaret
Thatcher.
What's her last name?
No, it's Margaret Sanger. Her name is Margaret Sanger.
Right. So I'm learning even more about the woman who started Planned Parenthood. Meanwhile, I'm not gonna go into this again. I have a thing here from Planned Parenthood who endorses Kamala. They just like disregarded Margaret in 2022 as a result of her ways with eugenics becoming involved and people of color, of underserved communities being discriminated against, being targeted. And so now Planned Parenthood is attempting to rebrand themselves and to position themselves in a different kind of way. But that's where this came from. So we have Black people who are up here like, I'm for reproductive freedoms. I'm for this. I'm for that. Meanwhile, a part of the people you're technically representing were some of the people who were targeting us. They thought that we were unfit to have families.
Correct. They don't even know what
they control our population.
They don't even know what they support. They don't even know who Margaret Sanger is.
So again, Ty, I just say, just do and you could do it by yourself where nobody can see that you like do the research for real. Just do the research.
I appreciate that, love.
But that's what it's all about, though, at the end of the day, when they just using the word women's rights. But at the end of the day, it's all about being able to abort when you want to abort. That's what it all sums up to at the end of the day. If I feel like if John make me mad and I'm 5 or 6 months pregnant and I want to get rid of it, I want to have the right to. And that's all it's about. Because like I said earlier, when everybody keep running to that RAPE word, like that's only a 1% of women that have that's getting abortions. Is literally 1%. The rest of the women that's getting abortions, they are doing recreational abortions. They are having abortions because they turned up on Friday, Saturday night, or they went to Jamaica and had a good time with somebody they didn't know, and they ended up pregnant when they got back, and now they want to have an abortion. The majority of abortions, especially the Black community, they are recreational abortions. That's it. I went out Saturday. I had a good time. I've been messing with this guy for like 2 months. Oh my God, I'm pregnant. I cannot have his baby. You knew you didn't want his baby from day one, but you still was turning up with him, acting a fool because he took you to the club and bought you a bottle of Henny with some sparkles on it. Now you pregnant. Now you about to go out there and abort your mistake. Nah, keep that. Sit on that. Be a woman. That's what being a woman is. You sit on your mistakes and you fix it. Y'all are literally voting. Y'all are literally voting for your own genocide. This company was strictly only built to get rid of Black babies. But it was no other reason. Not to give you birth control. It was strictly she wanted to terminate Black babies. And she said it out her mouth. She said it out her mouth. I don't know if you ever listened to this lady talk, but you can go and find a clip of her speaking. Y'all don't understand what y'all voting for. Y'all siding with the devil. And then at the end, y'all gonna blame the white man.
Yep. Y'all have not heard Trump speak, okay? Because everybody back then was racist. And the racism was a part of the freaking
Hold on. I'm gonna let you speak. I'm gonna let you speak. I'm gonna let you speak. I'm gonna let Trigger speak. I'm gonna let you speak. I'm gonna let you speak.
Anyone to get that.
I'm gonna let you speak.
Trigger, hold on.
This is not about judging.
I'm gonna let her speak
right now.
You gotta
put her in the back.
I'm gonna let you speak, but I want to give Ava her flowers, because Ava, it's rare that you find people, regardless of what side of the aisle that you on. It's rare that you find people that's able to substantiate their argument. Flat out. No matter what side of the aisle you on, it's rare. So I just want to give you your flowers and say I appreciate you being able to substantiate whatever it is that you're standing on. Trigger, feel free to do what Trigger do.
Honey was next first. Trigger, hold on. Trigger, go ahead, honey.
Okay, so I do understand what everybody is saying, but one of the biggest things with the whole abortion thing, it's not even just about the abortion. The overall the freedom to choose is what Trump is. Pretty much, if you have a government controlling your freedom to choose, that's a problem. So it's not even just about you having the right.
He's removing the government from saying whatever it is that you can do with your body.
You let her finish.